Hi, my name is Paige Edwards, and for my senior thesis in psychology, I conducted a research study on the correlation between non-infectious uveitis and traumatic experiences. So, uveitis is an autoimmune disease local to the eye that is the most common cause of preventable blindness. The purpose of this study was to determine the nature of the correlation between uveitis and trauma, and I hypothesized that there is a positive correlation between these two things. Previous research on autoimmune diseases has shown that they are positively correlated with trauma, including comorbidities of uveitis. Um, so a comorbidity is the disease that frequently occurs with another disease. So uveitis is frequently diagnosed with sarcoidosis, psoriasis, and multiple sclerosis. And research has shown that these specific diseases are correlated with trauma. Additionally, psychiatric disorders that are correlated with trauma, such as PTSD, psychosis, and schizophrenia, are also associated with autoimmune diseases, indicating that there's some sort of biological connection between people who have experienced a lot of trauma and mental health issues and autoimmune diseases. Additionally, less than 20% of uveitis cases are idiopathic, which is important because idiopathic means that the disease occurs alone without the occurrence of a comorbid disease. So, um, generally, uveitis is diagnosed with another autoimmune disease. So for methods, there were a total of 140 participants divided into two groups. Group one reported having uveitis. It was a total of 66 participants, and the mean age was 38. And group two was the control group. The sample size was 74, and the mean age was 34. Participants were collected on online support groups for uveitis. Uveitis is extremely rare, so a support group is the best place to find a large concentration of people that have it. Um, and in my sample, notably, 44% of participants reported having idiopathic uveitis. So they clicked on the link to the survey, which contained three trauma assessments, the CTQ, the Childhood Trauma Questionnaire, the ACE questionnaire, the Adverse Childhood Experiences, and the Brief Trauma Questionnaire. These assessment tools have been around for approximately 20 years, which is important because trauma has only been researched in the past couple decades, and using older assessment tools kind of validates the results of the study. Unfortunately, for results now, there was no significant difference between the results of group one and group two on any of the trauma assessments. Independent sample t-tests were conducted to compare the scores of the two groups. The table in the middle is the way the CTQ was scored. It's a bit longer and it's scored individually. Each category is scored individually. So we did independent sample t-tests for each category of abuse or neglect, um, as opposed to the other two, which I only needed to do one independent sample t-test for those. And then the adverse childhood experiences score is shown in this graph in the bottom section of the screen. Um, so why was there no significant difference between the two groups when it seemed so likely according to previous research? Um, one reason might be the mean age of the sample was 34, and the mean age of all uveitis patients in general is 65 plus. This might be because I gathered my sample from online support groups on social media, and maybe the majority of people on those support groups are younger. And then again, the issue with it, the majority of, or 44% of participants having idiopathic uveitis, is that that's not representative of the population of people that have uveitis. So Why would the majority of people in a support group for uveitis have idiopathic uveitis? Um, it might be that people diagnosed with uveitis that have another autoimmune disease might be in a support group for their other autoimmune disease and might be less concerned about their eyes, hypothetically. And this is because some of the diseases that are comorbid with uveitis are life-threatening, specifically multiple sclerosis. So um, that's one hypothetical reason why we had so many people that have idiopathic uveitis in my sample. And by we, I'm referring to Dr. Boucher and I, my advisor. So um, on that note, I I definitely learned throughout this process why research studies have at least five authors most of the time because this was an enormous amount of work and there's just a lot of things that you just need more people for and it's extremely time consuming and tedious and overall though a great experience and I learned a lot about the research process and scientific writing. And I hope that people can continue this research because there's very little research on uveitis. And I hope that people continue to research trauma and further the connection between the mind and body in science because they're so frequently treated as separate things. So thank you so much for your time and thank you for listening.